Welcome to Distress to Joyful, Bailey's Way. I'm your host, Bailey Raber, here to enlighten you and the rest of the world about one of the most misunderstood mental health disorders out there, bipolar disorder. In each episode, we'll learn more about my personal journey with bipolar II disorder, how I've struggled with it, and how I've learned to overcome those struggles. Together, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and most importantly, we'll have fun. You'll leave each episode feeling hopeful and stocked full of useful information on how you can better yourself and the world around you. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Distress to Joyful Bailey's Way. I don't know why I'm saying that right now. The intro says that. So a couple announcements. The first one being that I wrote a new blog article, blog post, whatever you want to call them. I actually didn't write it recently. I'll be honest with you. It is called We're All More Alike Than We May Realize. And it's actually an essay that I submitted for a scholarship competition last semester at HTC. I didn't win. That's okay. We don't always win everything. I have to learn that and remind myself that and not get upset. So this little article, it's a pretty quick read. It is how I relate to the main character of a book that we read, which was called The Inheritance of Arcada Divina. So it was a fiction book. It was based upon people who were from Ecuador. And it was really, really fascinating to me because I related to the main character way more than I thought I would. And so I wrote about that. And it actually is a lot to do with my childhood experience and some of the trauma that I faced. Not a whole lot, but there is a bit of a touching point on those things. So if you're interested, it's on my website. I'll put it in the show notes for today. Oh, speaking of website, I am working on giving my website a massive makeover. I'm so excited. My friend Gabe, he is working on a new logo for me for the website because it's different than the Distress to Joyful logo. It's different than Bailey's Way Designs. My website's kind of a catch-all. If you haven't checked it out, dude, please do, because I want you to see it now and then I want you to see it once I fix it up. But also, I'm kind of like slowly fixing things up. So you should definitely just see it now. And then if you don't go back for a while, when I remind you, when I've like completely finished up, then go check it again and be like, wow, this is an upgrade. Especially my homepage. Not gonna lie, guys, my homepage is shit. I hate my homepage, but I don't know what to do to fix it. I don't. When I started this website, I started it in like the summer of 2020. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. No idea. So I am very proud of how I've transformed it from literally just blog posts that were on a web page that was just very basic, very nothing. It was pretty much nothing to what it is now, which is so much better than it was before, but it still needs some improvement. The perfectionist in me is coming out, but I will say though, my homepage really does fucking suck. But having YouTube and getting into YouTube and learning how to do these things, guys, this is making web design so fun for me, and it's really, truly making this podcast so much more fun for me. I am going to pat myself on the back right now, and if you're on YouTube, you can see me doing that because, y'all, if you haven't noticed, I have kept up with a new episode every single week. Every week. And it's been a joy to do so. It's been such a joy. And you know what's different from this time around, me being able to do it every single week, than when I first started the podcast and tried to do every single week and failed? First of all, when I started this, it was during the pandemic, which I had a lot of free time, but I was also very depressed. And so it was really, really hard for me to do daily things when I was depressed. Dude, I have a whole episode, This is What Depression Feels Like. I'll put the link to that in the show notes because I cannot remember off the top of my head what episode that is. But what's different now than back then is back then when I first started, I didn't really have an audience. There would be days sometimes where nobody downloaded a single episode. it would be crickets. And I would feel so sad because I'm like, man, I'm working so hard. I'm being so vulnerable. I'm putting things out there on the internet that a lot of people probably won't even tell their best friend. So like, why is nobody coming? Why is nobody listening? Now, here you are. You're here every week showing up, and I see it. I see you. I do. I see it in the numbers, and it makes my heart so happy, and it makes me keep wanting to do more. It really does. And also, YouTube guys, if you haven't checked out any of my YouTube episodes, just do it one time. Just one time. Because I am fucking loving this. I am so much more expressive now because I am on camera. People can see what I'm doing. You can see what I'm doing if you want. I honestly am just assuming that you're not, because that you're still listening on your headphones, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever the hell you are. Because my YouTube numbers are shit because I just started. Like, whatever. That's how this works. But because I'm sitting here, I see me talking to you right now. Like, it allows me to be so much more expressive, so much more creative. And it's just fun, which sounds weird because I usually am not like huge on video, but now I've really been getting into it, and it makes it so much more fun to sit here and get to talk to you guys because now I'm like talking to myself in a mirror almost, which probably sounds really like narcissistic and creepy and weird, but fuck it. Like, you might have noticed a little bit of, I don't know, a difference in energy maybe in the last couple of episodes. I don't know. If you have, you should tell me because that would be really good data because I feel like I'm doing better, but I don't know. I'm just speculating off of how I feel, not what you guys actually think. Oh, also another thing that I'm working on too is I'm working on getting show notes for all of the episodes that I have missed. So kind of back to the website thing, episodes, I think 1 through 9, or maybe 1 through 8 of season 1, none of those have show notes because I didn't know what I was doing. I had just started out. I didn't even have a website at that point. And so now I'm like, you know what? I need to go back and do that because while a lot of you, I'm sure, do listen on specific podcast platforms and podcast apps, not everybody has access to those. Some of y'all I know will go to my website and listen for free. And that's great. And I love that. But where I have failed you guys is the podcast page on my website only has 10 episodes listed. I don't know if there's a way to refresh and see older episodes. I think it's just the 10 most recent. And so in order to get any other episodes that are not the 10 most recent, you would have to go to the show notes. And if I don't have show notes for them, then you can't access that episode. And that's shitty. That's really shitty. So I'm going to fix that for you guys because that's where I have failed you. And so that's something else I'm working on. And I'm really excited about getting everything consistent for you because you guys actually utilize this stuff and I love it. So thank you. Thank you for showing up. And one last thing before we get into today's episode is Ted Lasso. Have you guys seen the show Ted Lasso? It's on Apple TV. I only have access to Apple TV because we bought some Apple products in the last couple of years and you get a free 3 months of Apple TV. So yeah, we've utilized it. But y'all, Ted Lasso, if you have access to Apple TV, you have to watch this fucking show. Season 3 comes out on March 15th. I am so fucking pumped. Ted Lasso is the most positive show I have ever seen in my entire life. The main character's name is Ted Lasso. Hello, who it's about. And y'all, he is just a ball of motherfucking sunshine, like all the time. It's just such a heartwarming, happy show. And they go through shit. Everybody goes through shit. So it's not just like always happy. Bad things do happen. But it's how they move forward from them and the positive light and the positive outlook. Y'all, it warms my heart. I cried in so many of those episodes in the first 2 seasons. I cannot wait for season 3. I'm so fucking pumped. So if you're a Ted Lasso fan and you didn't know, now you know. Season 3, March 15, you are fucking welcome. Looking for a way to support Distress to Joyful Bailey's Way and your favorite podcast host, but unsure how? Well, friends, you can head on over to my Etsy shop, Bailey's Way Designs, to purchase an item handmade by yours truly. In my shop, you'll find cute and useful travel accessories, the comfiest workout headbands you've ever worn, adorable pet accessories, graphic t-shirts, and more. All of the proceeds from Bailey's Way Designs goes directly towards funding my college education, where I'm currently expanding my knowledge of fashion design. You can receive 15% off your first order of $35 or more by going to baileyswaydesigns.etsy.com and use code NEWCUSTOMER15. That's NEWCUSTOMER15. The link to my shop can also be found in the episode description and the show notes. Y'all, I truly appreciate all of your support, and I can't wait to hand pack and ship the items that you purchase from me. Once again, go to baileyswaydesigns.etsy.com and use code NEWCUSTOMER15 to receive 15% off your first purchase. Okay, so let's dive into today's episode called I Hated Being in My House While Growing Up. Here's why. So, guys, just a little warning. I'm speaking directly from the heart. So there's no bullet points on this paper in front of me. It might be a little chaotic. I might bounce around a little bit. So just be a little gracious. That's all I ask for. Just be a little patient. Because this is something that I've actually been thinking about a lot recently, and this was actually not part of the plan. I wasn't planning to talk about this anytime soon, but it came up and it felt like it was something that I really, really needed to speak about. Because if you've tuned into all of the episodes up until now, you know that I grew up in a very dysfunctional, chaotic household. And not chaotic in the sense of like, it was just like, stuff everywhere, people running around naked or whatever. It wasn't that kind of chaotic. It was more chaotic in the sense of there was no emotional support. There was no apologizing when you messed up. There was no accountability. There was just no healthy environment. I didn't grow up in a healthy environment at all. The vegetables that we ate were canned corn, boxed mashed potatoes, and like frozen carrots or some shit. Like, that's what we ate for vegetables. I shit you not. It's wild that I'm a vegetarian. Like, my Nana is probably turning over in her grave because I would have never saw this coming. She definitely would not have seen this coming. But yeah, just I didn't grow up in a healthy environment. We had things happen behind closed doors that were not happening in the public eyes. A lot of things that occurred, people had no idea. But this is what sparked my desire to speak on this topic. So as I mentioned in the last episode, Monish and I had dinner with my old pal Spencer and his wife Taylor. So Spencer and I were best friends in high school, like definitely sophomore year, a little bit of freshman year because that's kind of when we first met. And then junior year, we were really good friends for a while. And then I started getting into the party scene and stopped giving a shit about school. And Spencer's sorry, Spencer, I know you're listening, but he's a little good kid. And there's nothing bad with, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing at all wrong with that. But what happened is we kind of drifted apart because I went balls to the wall crazy, wilding out, going to parties, drinking, smoking, having sex with boys, sneaking out of the house. I was doing all those things while Spencer was on the straight and narrow. He was a good kid in school. He didn't go party and do all of that, but he did pick me up from, I think, at least one, if not two or three parties when I was too drunk to drive. So he was a very good friend. It was just things drifted. And in the last couple of years, we've reconnected. So when we had dinner with him and his wife, it was such a great time. It really was. But because we've known each other since we were like 14 or 15 years old, of course, our past got brought up. And Spencer said something very, very interesting at dinner. So he would come over for my birthday, and we would usually celebrate my birthday with him before Christmas because my birthday is Christmas Day. For those of you who do not know, it's the worst fucking birthday in the world. But he would come over like a day or two early, and we would celebrate at the house. And while we're at dinner with him and his wife, he told me, he goes, yeah, I remember going over for your birthday, and it just felt uncomfortable in your household. He's like, I could tell you didn't like being there. I could tell you didn't want to be there. And the atmosphere and the vibe was just very off and uncomfortable. He's like, but, I didn't think anything else more than that because obviously we were in high school. We were kids. What can you do? Nothing, really. Nothing. But when he said that, on the drive home, because we were down in Pearland, that's like a 20-something minute drive home, I stopped and I looked at Monish and I was like, do you know how validating that was? For me to hear Spencer say that he could tell that I did not enjoy being in my household. He could feel that something wasn't right. That is incredibly validating to me because sometimes I look back and I think, am I crazy? Did I have this wrong? Was I wrong to feel this way? No, guys. I am not wrong. This is my experience. I am entitled to my own experience. And my experience was that I didn't like being in my house growing up. I didn't. And again, thank you, Spencer, for bringing that up and for saying that. It was seriously so validating. And I cried a little bit on the way home because I was like, damn, I just felt so I felt so seen and like, fuck, I'm not crazy. But also, y'all, he's not the only one who's told this to me. He's just another person that I didn't even know he realized that. And so it was just like, again, another person adding to the pile of, Bailey, you're not crazy. You did experience things that were not pleasant and other people noticed. So in my household, there were a lot of rules. There were a lot of things that we weren't allowed to do. And we weren't explained why. It's just don't do it because I said so. Y'all, I'm an Enneagram 8. I'm a little rebel child, always have been. And if you tell me not to do something, but you don't explain why, I'm going to go fucking do it so I can find out why. You didn't tell me, so let me go find out, right? Like, that's the mentality of a teenager, of a kid. Like, you can't just say, no, don't do that. And then when they say, why? Because I said so, that doesn't work. That does not work. So first of all, if you have children or teenagers, please understand this. And I'm dead fucking serious when I say this. You've got to explain and communicate to your kids why they shouldn't drink alcohol, why they shouldn't smoke cigarettes, why they can't go play in the street at 11 p.m. at nighttime. You need to explain why, because if you don't, they're going to be curious. And when people are curious, they go behind your back and they do shit without telling you, because that's what I did. That is 100% what I did while growing up. But besides that, guys, there was just a lot of tension in the house. So something that I remember very, very vividly, and again, guys, these memories, again, I don't think I've told you this before. A lot of these memories I shoved really far down and tried to black out and block out and act like they just weren't there because I just didn't want to remember. I didn't want to think about it. And these have started to come up again recently. And one of them is that growing up, the tension in my household was just, you could cut it with a knife. It was just so, oof. And one of the things that I remember very, very vividly now is when we would be watching TV. So we'd come home from school. I would be in like 3rd or 4th grade, as early as I can remember this happening, maybe earlier, I don't know. But we were not allowed to just come home and watch cartoons on TV. We could watch educational stuff. I could watch the History Channel. I could watch Animal Planet. I could watch Discovery Channel. If you grew up in the 2000s, you know those channels. If you don't know those channels, just Google it. I'll put a link in the show notes. I love you for being so young and listening and tuning in, and sorry for cussing so much. But most of y'all probably recognize some of these TV channels. They were, staples on every cable network or whatever growing up in the 2000s. And this is what I would do. My mom would be napping. We'd get home from school and she would be taking her daily nap every single day from like 2 to 4, or I don't know what time she would nap. Maybe it was like 3 to 4:30. I don't remember, but she would literally nap the same time every fucking day. So while she was napping, nobody was watching us. We were just hanging out around the house and we were supposed to be doing our homework or whatever. And most of the time, mom's asleep, dad's not home. I'm going to watch Nickelodeon. I'm going to watch Disney Channel. But guys, I couldn't even relax and watch Disney Channel because I'd be sitting on the couch, I'd have the remote in my hand, and I'd have that recall button ready. You know, you remember the recall button on the remote where it would take you, if you were on Discovery Channel and then you switch to Disney Channel, to go straight back to Discovery Channel, you just hit recall and it takes you right back. So I would sit there with my thumb on the recall button and I would wait to hear the door open. And that would signify that my dad was home from work. And as soon as I heard that door open, I would immediately hit that recall button because it needed to be on Discovery Channel. It needed to be on the History Channel because that's all I'm allowed to watch. Guys, little things like this is why I have anxiety as an adult. This is why I get scared and jumpy because this is just one example of me sitting there on edge, just waiting to do something because my dad is around, because he would sneak up and like I would get in trouble if I was doing something or not doing something. Like, guys, I got in trouble all the time as a kid for all sorts of bullshit. And so much so, there were so many rules, so many things I couldn't do, so many things I would get in trouble for. I just didn't like being at my house. I hated it. It wasn't fun. We could only watch TV for a certain amount of time of the day. We had to go play outside. We could only play with these neighbors. We couldn't go past this street. Like, so many fucking rules that it was easy to break them because there's too many to remember. And then when you break them, you get in trouble. And seriously, guys, one of the things that is also a direct not response, but I guess something that as an adult that I had struggled with for a very long time, not being allowed to just openly have fun as a kid in my house meant that I grew up to be an adult that felt like everything I had to do had to be productive. I couldn't do something just for the hell of it. That was a lot of my life, a lot. 25. When I turned 25 at the end of 2018, because yeah, whatever. So when I turned 25, I had a quarter life crisis. I fucking broke down and got my life together. And one of the things that I learned to do was to allow myself to play and have fun and just enjoy myself and do things for the fuck of it. Seriously, just for the fuck of it. All of those birthday photo shoots that I do, guys, I will put the link to that. I've got an article about it. That will be in the show notes, that link. But I do a birthday photo shoot every year where I make an outfit and I go take photos just for the sheer fuck of it. Just because I like doing that. Because it's fun. Because I enjoy it. And you know what? This is my life. I damn well get to enjoy it. I get to do whatever I want and I get to have fun. As a kid, I didn't get to freely have fun. I really didn't. There was too many rules, too many stipulations. I should be watching something educational. I should be reading a book. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I just couldn't just be free. And I really think that's why as an adult, if I have too many things that are like holding me down, if I feel like I'm being held down by expectations of others, by things I have to do, by whatever, I start to get anxious and overwhelmed and it's just too much because I need to feel like I can be free. I'm not kidding. So something that I adapted as a kid, because I didn't enjoy being in my household. It was very tense, always getting in trouble, not really having freedom to just be a kid. I adapted being able to ask my friends' parents to let me come over. Y'all, even to this day, as a 29-year-old, I am the fucking queen of inviting myself to other people's houses. I really, truly am. And that's because as a child, I did not like being home. It was way more fun at Michelle's house. I loved hanging out at Lauren's house. Let me go over to Allison's house. Like, these houses were fun. These parents let us have fun. They let us play in the sandbox. They let us make a mess with paint. They let us have fucking fun. And so I wanted to be over there. I didn't like bringing friends to my house for sleepovers or for play dates. I wanted to be at their house. So what I would do, y'all, like, I started doing this as a kid. I remember I'd be maybe at church or at Girl Scouts, and I'd be like, hey, let's ask your mom if I can come over and play. Or let's ask your mom if I can come for a sleepover. And a lot of times my friends would be like, oh, I don't know. Like, they might say no, or I don't want to ask them. So I started asking them. Y'all, I think this is why I'm confrontational. I really do. I really think that this is why I am not afraid to just walk up to somebody and ask them what the fuck ever, and I can just be confrontational as an adult, because as a kid, I was walking up to my friends' parents saying, hey, can I come over and have a sleepover with Lauren? Can I have a sleepover with Michelle? Can we have a play date? I would ask their parents, not my parents. Never my parents, because my parents might say no. But if I go ask their parents would then go to my parents and be like, hey, can Bailey come over? And then the answer would most likely be yes, I would be allowed. But if I went to my parents first and asked, they would more than likely just say no. So I learned, guys, there was a system that I learned on how to get the fuck out of my house. I learned that as a elementary kid, and it continued through high school, guys. It continued, and man, as an adult, I have no problem still asking, if Monish and I are going out of town somewhere, asking a friend, hey, can we come stay with you? We're coming into town for this. Can we stay at your house? Maddie, if you're listening, you're one of those friends. I recently asked you if Moni and I could come stay while we're coming to do the Spartan race in Austin, and you were all for it, and I love you. Thank you and Drake again for opening up your house to us. Monish has family all over. We have stayed in so many of his family's homes because I have no problem saying, Moni, they've said that we can come over. Let's ask them. Let's ask them if we can stay at their house while we're in California and coming to the family reunion and then going to Disneyland. Thank you again, Manan and Sonali, if you're listening. So these are skills, guys. Like, as a kid, I learned to get what I want, I'm going to have to ask this adult. I'm going to have to be brave and go do this. And now I think that's why it's so easy for me to do that as an adult. To be brave and go ask for things that I want or things that I need. I have no problem walking up to strangers and asking, hey, I love your purse. Where did you get it? No fucking problem. But back to the subject of my house. A couple other things that occurred that also signify just how tense it was and how much I did not enjoy being in my home. Y'all, I ran away from home 3 times. In high school, 3 times. Before that, there was a time or two. That's different. That doesn't really count. I don't know if I've disclosed this before on the podcast. Honestly, I don't remember if I have or not, but I ran away 3 different times. And the whole reason I even got put into therapy in the first place was because the last time I ran away from home, the sheriff in the area that I had ran off to came with my mom and the preacher from church to pick me up from this house. It was so fucking embarrassing, and put me in the car and took me home. I refused to talk to my parents. I refused. What am I going to tell them? That I hate fucking being here? That you put so much pressure on me? That I don't enjoy these rules? That I'm in trouble all the time? No, I can't tell them that, because they'll just ground me again. They'll just take away my shit again. Their favorite thing to do was to take something away. Take away my phone. Take away my laptop. Take away my iPod. Take away my TV privileges. Take away my being able to go to my friends' houses. Take away my goddamn sewing machine. That happened a couple times. They took those things away. I was in trouble all the time, always getting things taken away from me. So when I ran away, because I just couldn't deal with it anymore, They sat me down. I remember sitting on the couch and they were trying to force me to tell them why I ran away. You really think I'm going to open up about that? So I ended up in therapy. I ended up in Chelsea's office on her couch where even we talked about this recently. She told me, she was like, when you first came here, you wouldn't talk to me. And I said, yeah, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I didn't trust anybody. I had zero trust with anybody because anybody that I'd ever trusted had betrayed me. My parents being the very first people, you're supposed to trust them. And they betrayed my trust so many times, I didn't know who to trust anymore. I literally had no one to trust at 18 years old, and that's shitty. That's really shitty. So guys, all of this is to say that this was my childhood experience. I did not enjoy the household that I grew up in. And that is okay. My feelings are valid. This was my experience. Now, my siblings, they they definitely, I know this because I've talked to them, but they've definitely had a different experience growing up in the same household than I did. And just because this is my experience doesn't mean that their experience isn't valid. Their experience is valid too. So if you grew up in a household where you weren't comfortable, where you didn't enjoy it, where you felt negative feelings or negative emotions, first of all, you're not fucking crazy. Your feelings are valid. They really, truly are. You matter. How you feel about situations that you have been subjected to matter. It is not, quote, whining or crying to go to a therapist or a licensed professional to sit down and talk about how your childhood made you feel. It is okay to feel upset that you didn't have a good childhood. It's okay to be fucking angry. It's okay to be whatever you feel, guys. That is okay. You matter. Your experience is valid. And don't you ever let anybody tell you differently. Because if they're telling you differently, that, my friend, is a form of manipulation that we're not even going to talk about right now. That's gaslighting. We can talk about that later. But if anybody tries to tell you that these things aren't valid, that they don't matter, any of that, fuck them. Seriously, fuck them because they're wrong. They are wrong. You matter. Your experiences are valid. And lastly, guys, I want to end and just say that if you have children, especially if you have teenagers, please, please, please don't make the same mistakes as my parents and work on having open communication. Communication is so important. So fucking important. And building trust with your teenagers as well as they build it with you. Trust is a two-way street. They should trust you and you should trust them, and there should be an open line of communication. Had I had that with my parents, I probably wouldn't have been sneaking out to go have sex with boys. I probably wouldn't have been getting drunk when I was 16 years old. I probably wouldn't have run away from home 3 times. Like, seriously. But I didn't have these things. And it's not necessarily my parents' fault because they did the best they could with the tools that they had. But unfortunately, this was my lived experience. And I really, truly hope that hearing about this from me will help you to do great things and to do better for your kids. Because they deserve it, guys. I'm going to cry. But one last thing is that I'm 29. I was a teenager 10 years ago. A little over 10 years ago, whatever. But looking back on my teenage years and my childhood experience, I didn't have the language to be able to express what I needed, what I felt, what I wished my parents would have done for me. I didn't have that back then. But now, as an adult, looking 10 years back, having done all of this self-work and self-discovery and growing as a human being, I can sit here and say, damn, this is what I wish I had when I was a kid. This would have been helpful for me. I could have been a lot more emotionally intelligent at a younger age had somebody been there to help guide me. So really, truly, guys, I hope that I am being a voice for the people who don't know how to be a voice for themselves. Kids and teenagers, they don't have a voice for themselves. They don't know what they want or need most of the time. They have no clue. So seriously, I really hope that I can help to be an advocate for that based upon my experience and what could have helped me. What's helped me now that I wish I would have had back then. Because again, I would hate for somebody to have to go through what I went through. I would hate to hear stories of teenagers dealing with bullshit that I had to deal with, when we're at a day and age now where we can easily prevent these things. Brene Brown, y'all. If you haven't already read her books, you need to read her books. That's why I learned to be able to play and have fun. I learned to be able to let go and enjoy my life due to reading Brene Brown's books, and I will put those links in the show notes. So I'm going to wrap this up. I had no bullet points. This is speaking from the heart. I could keep on going, but I just want to leave you with this, that I hope to have opened your eyes to this perspective. I hope that this is helpful for you or someone around you. And also, if you had a lived experience like me, please remember you are not alone. And again, your experience and your feelings, they are valid and you matter. Win of the week. Win of the week. Okay, guys, it's time for Win of the Week. So this segment was created for you, and this is a way for all of us together to just spread some positivity and share a good thing that happened in life recently, whether you received a job offer to the company of your dreams or that you finally gained the energy to shower for the first time in 3 days. No win is too small to celebrate here on Distress to Joyful Bailey's Way. We celebrate all of the wins equally. Yes, we do. Also, this is an opportunity for me to give you a shout out on the show. And you guys should know by now that I love giving shout outs. So today, the win of the week is actually me. Yeah, me. It's me. I'm doing it. So my win for this week is that I got to do a photo shoot today. Like if you're on YouTube, you can probably see I have makeup on. I'm looking really good. My hair looks like a mess though because, I mean, the photo shoot's over. It kind of got flat. And so it doesn't look super great right now. But I got to do a photo shoot today. And y'all, photo shoots give me life. Like I mentioned earlier in the episode that I do this for my birthday every year. I love getting dressed up. I love it. That's just something I love to do. And you don't have to have a reason to do it. And so getting to get all dressed up today and get my photo taken, y'all, that is what I needed. I've been struggling with feeling depressed for the last couple of weeks. I've had a lot of issues with anxiety also. And this has really, really brought some life back to me. And I just feel great. Like I really do feel great. And I'm so thankful and glad I got to do this today. The photos are for something special. They will be on my personal Instagram page, What is Hey Bales Doing, in a couple of weeks. Maybe you'll get lucky and I'll post them on Distress to Joyful _ Bailey's Way Instagram page too. Who knows? Follow the pages and you will see. So do you have a recent win that you want to share? Send in your submissions by heading over to whatisheybellsdoing.com/win of the week. You can also email your submissions to whatisheybellsdoing@gmail.com or just pop on into my DMs at DistressedJoyful _ Bailey's Way. So in the next episode, I'm going to discuss my personal experiences with bipolar medications. So I've had people asking me about this a lot, especially in my DMs on Instagram. So I figured it is about damn time that I open up and discuss this stuff, especially since I recently saw a new psychiatrist and I got my meds adjusted, which I'm actually going back to her office for a follow-up on Tuesday, 2 days from now, which you're not listening to this on the day I'm recording it. So just 3 days from now. Just ignore that. So to me, this topic is super important to discuss because back when I was trying to find the right meds for me, I had no idea what to expect, what would be considered a negative reaction, any of these things. And it was a very lonely process because I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know if this is how things are supposed to feel or if I'm supposed to feel something different. And I really don't want anyone else to feel lonely when trying out medications too. But I'm going to be very explicit. I am not a doctor. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a therapist. I'm not licensed in anything. So I'm not telling you about these meds to recommend them to you. That's not what I'm doing. I'm telling you about how I reacted to them and what my experience was in the event that you or someone who's listening had very similar experiences too. Because here's the thing, I have talked with a couple friends recently who have been on some of the medications that I've been on in the past, and they had similar reactions to me, and it was validating. It was so validating to be like, okay, great. I'm not the only one. Like, fuck yeah. So this is not an episode for you to start writing down medications and going and telling your psychiatrist. That's not what this is for. This is so that if you've ever been on any of the same things and you felt the same way, it's to help you not feel alone. Okay? That's what this is for. So very explicit. I'm not going to be promoting meds. I will be explicit about it next week too, but I do want you to know that we're going to discuss this just because it's something to discuss. So thank you for tuning into the show. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram and Facebook at DistressedJoyful_Bailey's Way, and head on over to the website, whatisheybellsdoing.com, to check out the show notes from this episode. If you enjoy this podcast, help spread the word by leaving a rating or writing a review, because you guys know I want to hear from you. Also, you can watch this episode for free on YouTube. Spread the word, guys. Spread the word. Lastly, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all of the new episode releases. But until next time, take it easy, stay grateful, and be joyful. Bye!